All right, hey everybody. We have OSU Ambassadors here. We've done this for a lot of years and we got some really great people. Just to start, I'm Mr. Cooch, if you have me now or have had me, but I'm one of the engineering teachers here at Davidson. If each of you would just briefly just say your name and how many times you had me in class while you were at Davidson and what your major is at OSU. Annie, we'll start with you, then we'll go Mike, Daniel, and Mohammed. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So my name is Annie Rue. I've actually had Mr. Cooch for all 4 years of high school. My majors are electrical engineering and industrial design.
Mike Fault is here. My cat Randy's in the back. Don't be scared if you see him move. I had Cooch 3 times, not junior year, was missing him then. I'm a senior, 4th year in mechanical engineering.
So I'm Daniel. I only had Cooch 1 time, sadly, but I'm a 4th year in industrial systems engineering.
And my name is Mohammed Khan. I'm a 3rd-year mechanical engineering student at OSU, and I had Cooch twice in POE, and then I also TA'd for his IED class in my senior year at Davidson.
All right, and great. And we do this every year. Like I said, we have Ohio State students come in and we love having you in the building, but we're gonna have to do it on Zoom this year, which is fine. That's how we're doing everything right this year. But the reality is I didn't even recruit these guys. They just decided, hey, we're former Davidson students who are in engineering at Ohio State and we wanna give back and we wanna be a part of what's going on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and share a PowerPoint and we're gonna let everyone kind of be a part of presenting what we're doing here today. So like I said, we have a tradition of people coming back and actually it's kind of neat. In fact, I have you guys here. There's Mohammed back in the day at OSU Ambassadors event. And then over here on this side, we have Annie watching Dennis Tran at our first OSU Ambassadors event like 7 years ago, maybe, or so, maybe 8 years ago. That's kind of crazy to think about. But I'm gonna have you guys go through. It'll be Daniel and then Annie, then Mike, then Mohammed. Just talk to us about what is your major? What is your passion in engineering and where have you landed at Ohio State? Go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm an industrial systems engineer. So basically, my role is just to make things more efficient, basically. So my goal is to kind of work in kind of this manufacturing setting or kind of a factory setting and get to work both in like the technical aspects of product and supply chain while also working with people and kind of talking to people about their uh, work that they do within those systems and like kind of how to make those better.
Awesome. Like I said, my name is Annie. I'm a double major in electrical engineering and industrial design. I actually started off in electrical engineering because I took digital electronics and I thought that was super fun. DE and IED were two of my favorite classes. And going in, electrical engineering is a super diverse field. So it's not the traditional electronics that you think of with wires and stuff, but you also go into the realm of like system controls, power electronics, even stuff like AI, even that I've had the chance to work with as an electrical engineer. And then going into like a couple co-ops as an engineering intern, I kind of realized that my passion lied within product design. And what happens in industry quite a bit is that engineers and designers typically work together hand in hand. So having like a cross-disciplinary team and like this teamwork that's going on is super useful in product design. So I came back during my sophomore year and actually added on my industrial design major. So I'm doing both now and it's really, really cool.
Mike again. I'm a mechanical engineer. Mechanical engineering is a very broad discipline of engineering. You do a lot in terms of mainly like applied kinematic physics, applied thermodynamics. You also do a lot of coding. You work with people doing stuff like electrical engineers. You have a very broad base that you can kind of launch off of. Personally, my biggest passion is in design engineering, which is very similar to what Annie said. And I also do a lot of things where I work in a material science lab where I do plastic research. And then I go and I do my capstone with Honda doing product design for them. So there's a lot of different paths that you can go with mechanical engineering.
And I'm Mohammed, and I'm also a mechanical engineer like Mike, but I'm a 3rd-year mechanical engineer. And kind of like what Mike said, it's very broad. Mechanical, basically, you're only limited by your creativity. Like you can basically do almost anything. For example, like I'm interested in rehabilitation engineering and assistive technology. So that's mainly like working with people with disabilities and trying to make the world more accessible to them, because eventually we will all have some, like we will need some help out there, either when you grow older and you have to have a cane, or if you have to be in a wheelchair, we'll all need some kind of rehabilitation engineering. But mechanical, it's super broad. You can basically do about anything. I've I've worked with electrical engineers, material scientists. I've worked with robot engineers, and it's pretty fun. You'll enjoy it if you do it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys. And we're going to get so much more into some of these things, but real quick, a couple of you are going to share a little bit about some of the most important things from high school. Maybe Daniel, then Mike, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say one of the most important things that I would say you would get from high school is kind of your study habits and how you kind of approach the classes that you're taking. Because I know that uh, basically some of the study habits that I had, they weren't the best in high school. And, uh, you get to college and you kind of hit that brick wall and you really struggle sometimes. So I would say the more you can kind of build on kind of getting those things built into yourself early, that's kind of something that I would say is really important, and that will help you in the long run, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all that. High school is, to me, it was a place where I really started to learn a lot about what I wanted to not just learn about and do for my degree, but also just in general with what I enjoy in life and whatnot. High school, especially within the engineering program at Davidson, is where I learned that I wanted to become an engineer, and I haven't looked back since. Now, I don't want you to take away from that what you think you want to do now, you're stuck with. No, a lot of people will change once they're in college, but you do start to get a lot of ideas in terms of what you want to do. And that extends beyond just the classroom. I was very involved with the drama club at Davidson, and now I'm on the board for a big theater organization at OSU. And there's all sorts of different stuff that you can do in terms of like charity organizations or whatever you're interested in at college that you can really expand upon that you start in high school.
Yeah, that's great. No, and I think that's important too. And then that kind of leads also a little bit into, is there something that you wish you had done in high school? Like something that's like, man, if I had done this in high school, I think I would have been better prepared or had a better idea or something like that. Mo, I know you had some stuff to share with that. If someone else wants to jump in, you can, if something comes to mind.
Yeah, for me, it was mainly about trying new things and just getting out there and experiencing different stuff. Because actually, I moved to Columbus for like my ninth grade, basically, so it's completely new, not just to Davidson, but to the entire area. From where I was from, the entire population of Davidson was the entire population of the town. So it was pretty small and you knew everyone. But like when I came to Davidson, I was very quiet and reserved and didn't try many new things. I stuck with PLTW program, and that's how I knew I wanted to become an engineer. But like I just tried one new thing. I tried media arts with Mr. Girdman. Hopefully he's still there. He's amazing. But and through that I learned that I was really good at film also. And just trying that one thing, I actually landed a filmmaking job at OSU for 2 years, and so I worked as a filmmaker. But I wish I had like tried other new things, seeing just to get like a good work-life balance. Because once you get to college, you'll be very, depending on what major, like you'll be drowning in schoolwork, and you really want to do something outside of your major, just so you're not always stuck with just that. So yeah, getting a good work-life balance and trying new things. I wish I had done more of that in high school.
Great. Does anyone else have anything, either a really important thing from high school or something they wish they had done in high school who maybe didn't get a chance, that something came to mind when someone else was talking?
I would say one thing is definitely try to get involved, because I think that in college you don't realize how much getting involved in things helps you. And so in high school sometimes you kind of just you see the clubs and you're just like, "Oh, I don't really want to spend my time in that," or "I would rather do something else." But when you get to college, especially at like a big college like Ohio State, everyone's kind of in their own bubble, and there's just so many people, you get overwhelmed sometimes. So finding those things to get involved in and getting those smaller communities where you can kind of really get to know people, that's something that's super important just for your early college life and like kind of getting acclimated to things. So I think that's something that's really important.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think finding your passions, that goes along a lot with what Mo said as well, but absolutely, like uh, and even with engineering, just the more things you're involved with, the more opportunities for things you have to put on your resume and things like that for internships and experiences, and the more confident you'll be stepping out into research projects or things like that as well. And so also you mentioned, you know, like OSU being a big school and things like that. Talk a little bit about maybe considerations when you're choosing your post-secondary options. We have a lot of juniors and seniors who might watch this Zoom call. You know, what did you take into mind? What did you have friends or other people that you've talked to, their experiences when it came to choosing a college? And I think Daniel and Annie were maybe going to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is, you know, you really have to take the time, and I would strongly recommend visiting the place no matter kind of where it is. Take the time. You're going to spend hopefully 4 years there, if not more. So you like it's a big commitment. So if you can really take the time to kind of go to the college, you get kind of a different experience to what you would get just either looking at it or talking to other people about it. You really get to see if it's the fit for you. And then other than that, just don't have any kind of preconceptions about the schools that you're talking about. Really go in with an open mind. I know I actually didn't want to go to Ohio State when I was considering what college to go to at first, and I've ended up here, and I've enjoyed it so much. And I think that sometimes I came in with this, oh, I've been in Columbus my entire life. Ohio State's just that school. I don't really want to do that, but it's if it's the right fit for you, it's the right fit for you, and you really can't second guess that.
Yeah, Daniel brought up really good points, I believe. So when you're trying to consider your post-secondary school, also finding out like stuff about you and your personality and trying to get to that good fit, and definitely visiting these schools will help you kind of like ascertain whether you'll fit in there or not. For me, OSU wasn't necessarily a first choice, and I kind of almost like for my first 2 years regretted going to OSU. I actually applied to UC, but ended up going to OSU because I commute from home, so like cost wise, it was a lot cheaper. But for me, well, I place a little bit more value on getting work experience done. So I would look into like the various programs, like whatever programs for the majors you're going into. Certain schools offer co-ops and like kind of like built-in like work study programs that are really helpful for you to engage. So yeah, like kind of considering those things. Sometimes too, I I took summer classes over at Columbus State just to kind of save money. And sometimes when you're in engineering for the first couple of years, you have like these like quote unquote weed out classes. So they're like pretty difficult and it kind of like tank your GPA a little bit. And and you know if they're tanking your GPA and you have to retake them, that's kind of money coming out of your savings account. So going to take it at Columbus State, it's not going to affect your GPA. You're still going to get the credit. So I also advise like maybe thinking about like those kind of things that save you costs, like in the long run, might save you like thousands of dollars when you're going into post secondary.
Great, yeah, no, all good stuff, and you know, for everyone who's making choices, I'm sure you guys would be open if people wanted to reach out to you as well, to even asking you questions and things like that. It's part of what this is all about. So how did the engineering classes at Davidson prepare you? You know, because one of the things we as teachers are constantly asking ourselves is, are we doing the right things here to prepare people for not just their experience in college, in their engineering classes, but also their math and science classes, and then also for those internships and those job experiences. And we've typically heard positive things, but we even we actually, you guys might not know this, but we made a big change recently. Our third year course is now not just digital electronics. We now offer AP Computer Science Principles. So it's a computer science course instead for that third year course. Still a little bit of soldering and DE logic, but less of the digital electronics and more of that. But talk to me a little bit about how the engineering experience at Davidson prepared you for OSU, and even you could even get into some of those AP science and math classes you took as well. Also, Annie and Mike, I think you're going to talk about this.
Yeah. I took engineering all 4 years of high school, and honestly, I think that was probably one of the best decisions I've made. I really enjoyed like all 4 years of engineering. Through this, I kind of found out where like what I like to do, so it kind of helped factor into what field of energy engineering I wanted to go into. So I chose to go in electrical because I personally enjoyed digital electronics a lot more. And I also chose industrial design because I found IED to be really fun, and how like you kind of design projects and design the briefs and kind of take something from the design brief all the way to the final project. um, it kind of just also helps you like build your resume and build your portfolio. I know that I got hired at Caterpillar Inc., so the guys with the big yellow manufacturing equipment, because of my EDD project. So I had that on my resume, and I was talking to the interviewer about it. And like later when I got hired in, I spoke to him again. He said, you know, your like psychological health monitor project that you said you did for your senior capstone was what got you hired here. So it was pretty cool. I really liked engineering at Davidson. I think it really, really prepared me for like engineering, like in the field and at college too.
Mr. Herring will be excited to hear that, and we all are, of course, as well.
I agree with everything that Annie said. And I did all 4 years as well at Davidson, and it's my favorite thing that I did. It prepared me so well for college, and it extends into those AP classes that you talked about. I actually retook Calc 2 and AP Physics. Yeah, AP Physics in college, just to kind of reaffirm that material and help me with all the other stuff that I was doing within my major courses, including the kinematics courses I had to take for mechanical. The structure at Davidson is surprisingly similar to what we do at Ohio State in the mechanical track. We do a senior capstone just like you guys do. The first major class that I took once I actually got into my major was one where we do a machine shop project, and then we do a robotics half based off of everything else that we've been learning in the class. And I was perfectly prepared for that whole class. There are two intro engineering classes that every engineer takes their freshman year. I skipped the second one because it's a lot of CAD work, and I showed her all of the inventor stuff I did, and she just looked at me and said, "Yeah, you already know more than you guys are going to learn in this class, so you don't need to take it." I got past it, and from what I hear, that class was a little busy for a lot of people. So just having a lot of those fundamentals down and having exposure to a lot of this and experience within it really gave me a lot of opportunity to focus on specialization, the specifics of what I want to learn, and get away from the general, because I already know it for one, but two, I already know how to apply it.
No, that's great to hear. And actually, I just thought of it. Annie and Faltus, were you guys on the same, like, did you guys do a gumball machine in IED, like for your reverse engineering project? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually included it on my portfolio for
Yeah.
industrial design. That's it, like it all cycles back.
And what's crazy is you did that as freshmen in high school, and you're using that as a portfolio for your college degree. Like, it's awesome. So it's encouraging to hear, and it's good. Mike, did you have something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that gumball machine is actually what is holding that Shrek mask up over there.
There it is.
I also have my birdhouse project on my dresser still.
Awesome.
Over there. So yeah, this stuff sticks with you. It sticks with you a lot.
Yeah. And some people watching might be like, these are just homers who really love the engineering program. But the reality is, every year when we have people come back, we hear these same things. And that's why it's exciting. And I wanted to hear you guys talk about it. And I do really appreciate that as well. Annie, I'd love for you to talk just a little bit briefly about, we have the Women in Engineering program here at Davidson to try and encourage more girls into it. And I know that you were a part of that. And then you were a TA, I think, for one of my Women in Engineering classes. Tell me a little bit about your experience as a woman in the engineering field at OSU, and what your experience has been, and anything like that.
Yeah, I think that in women's in engineering, sometimes it could be really daunting at first to kind of be placed in a large group with guys who kind of had like the engineering background and like these various experiences, and it kind of makes you seem like a little unqualified, a little in over your head. So for me, when like getting integrated into the women in engineering program, both like in high school, and there's also like various groups at Ohio State too for WIE, that kind of just builds like a great community where you guys support each other. And honestly, like sitting in like various engineering classes and labs at OSU, you don't really get the like um, discrimination that you think you would get being a female. But sometimes like it's nice to have like a community kind of just to discern like certain thoughts where you might not like where you kind of stick out. But really, everybody at OSU is really welcoming, and like gender doesn't really play too much as a factor like in how they treat you at all.
No, that's good to hear. I appreciate you giving insight into that. And actually, just today, this morning, unrelated to this, I got an email from one of the associate deans of the engineering department at Ohio State asking just to confirm that the women in engineering curriculum was the same as IED, so that when they give students credit for that first semester course or that second semester course, they can do that if they didn't take IED and they took women engineering instead. So that was actually kind of cool. We're going to go here now. And I think my video might be lagging a little bit. Is it lagging for any of you guys as well, or no? Is it for
A
you
little
guys a little
bit.
bit? Okay. The audio's been fine.
I think you're coming back though.
Okay. But as far as internship experience or opportunities, Annie and Mo, I think you had something briefly that you wanted to share with that as well.
Yeah. For me, I kind of went like I dived in head first with like the internships and opportunities, even though it was kind of like dissuaded. Like, don't go to the job fair as a freshman, but I went every single year, and I actually miraculously got hired sophomore year, despite not even being in my major at all. My first job was at GE Appliances, and honestly, I love that place. And they basically give you the engineer's work. They don't give you the intern work. So like doing Excel, getting coffee. It wasn't like that. So I had a really good engineering experience, like learning how to troubleshoot, learning how to use engineering equipment. You're like actually designing the different circuit boards, designing like the various stuff, troubleshooting. And then like at the end, like you have like an entire resume that's like on par with an actual engineer's. And I really advise almost anybody who's going into like one of these majors to really go look for these various opportunities because they're really insightful. They make you learn a lot because a lot of these internships and stuff, the material that you learn from there cycles back and makes you perform better in academia too. And then, yeah, I think also it's a great way to kind of look and see whether or not that field and that job is like the right one for you. So it's pretty good to see early on whether that specific major is correct for you or not.
Yeah, my experience is pretty similar to what Annie just said. I also went to the engineering career fairs that they hold at OSU. For me, my first real engineering experience outside of classes was working in a research lab the summer after my freshman year. And basically, I still don't know how I landed that. I just went to the professor. It's like she had like a poster that she was looking for an intern for the summer to work with on projects. I just went to her and I saw that her research. I didn't know anything about it. It was about soft robots. Never heard of that before. Walked in. I told her like, I'm interested in learning more about what you're doing, and here's what I've done. And then like a few weeks later, she took a chance and took me on, and I worked in a research lab with a PhD student and a postdoctorate student. And so basically, I was given my own project. I controlled everything. Like I controlled when I started and how long it would go for, and it was really great to get that experience because I had my own like freedom, and it was pretty daunting at first because like everything was on me. Like I had to get it done. I had to set up a plan, and I had to tell her when I was done and if I ran into any problems I couldn't solve. So that experience is pretty great because you don't really get that much in the classroom because the teacher is the one that sets you like the schedule almost and gives you like the deadline, while in that internship experience I had to set my own deadline. And the projects were very very interesting. I worked on material science projects with a mechanical engineering professor, but it was very multidisciplinary project, so it was pretty fun.
Very cool. Very cool. So because we're in the first semester as opposed to the second semester, and I know Mo, you said you're in your third year. Annie, you've got the dual degrees, so you got a few more years to go. But Daniel and Mike, hopefully if we were doing this in like March instead, you'd probably have a job lined up. But can you tell us a little bit about the job search experience, or what you've seen from people who have graduated a year ahead of you, and the opportunities to get a job coming out of college? Like, have people been placed right away? What have you seen? And I know with COVID, it's probably a little different, but what have you seen?
Yeah, so getting a job, and that this also basically everything that I would say about this also applies to getting an internship too. I would say it's a long process, and you have to find the right fit and you have to really keep at it. But I would say uh a lot of times it's just you have to be persistent. You have to look for those opportunities kind of everywhere, and you just got to keep applying. And a lot of times, like I know when I applied for my internship, I would apply for tens of positions and get only a couple of interviews back. And so you really got to not get discouraged by some of the rejections, because eventually, you'll find that fit. I know that. So for my internship, I kind of applied for the position that I got, didn't hear back for a little while, and actually it got into the beginning of summer and I didn't have that many positions yet, and I was kind of like, okay, where am I going to go as far as, how am I going to fill in this void, because I'm not going to get this internship. And then I got the position kind of the next weeks after that. So you really got to kind of stay persistent and really keep going, because that fit is, if you search enough, that fit will eventually be there. But you have to kind of put yourself in the position to be lucky, I guess, if that makes sense. You have to make your own luck a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's great. And we're gonna finish with just some last words or comments. And I just wanna anything else you want to leave with us today? We'll start with Mo, then we'll go to Daniel, Mike, and then Annie. You can finish us. But anything else you just want to say before we finish up today? Anything else that you want to share with freshmen through senior engineering students here at Davidson?
Yeah. So whatever major you go into for college, whether it be engineering or business or psychology, make sure to learn about not only the people you'll be working with as a career, but also just other fields. Like, okay, so for me, I'm an engineer, but also, like I think I mentioned previously, that I was also interested in filmmaking, and I had a filmmaking job at OSU, and that was completely different than engineering. Like, there was no calculus. That was so great. And I was working with like designers, graphic designers, uh, audio engineers sometimes, but like very different. So like the way we solve problems over there was almost analogous to how we solve problems in engineering. Like, you come up with the list, you tackle that list, or you try to solve it in a different way. So basically what I'm trying to say is that pulling wisdom or other ideas from other fields, either adjacent or completely out of the ballpark, would help you in your career, because you just got to keep an open mind, and having a very an open mind will help you in your career, just because you can pull from a lot of different things.
I would say, kind of a little bit building off of that, is even if you don't necessarily know exactly what you want to do going into college, like, it's fine. You'll find that niche eventually. And I know I came in engineering but undecided, so I didn't choose ISE until my third semester at OSU. So they have those programs there for you no matter where you go, not specifically OSU, just anywhere. They'll have programs for you to kind of explore if you don't necessarily uh, have that specific, one track mind for yourself already. You can kind of go in and test out a few things and just find out what feels comfortable for you. And I think that's one of the best things about going to college, is that you get to explore and see those things, even if you're not 100% sure from the start.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback off all this. One of the big things that I've learned going through college is that what I thought I was interested in before, I was not what I'm interested in now. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different routes that you can go down. the job I have currently, I work in a research lab doing polymer research, plastic research, and it's not something at all I would have expected myself to do um, even 2 years ago. And I just applied to this job on a whim, and I'm still there a year and a half later. Um, and then another thing I want to mention is that don't be afraid to kind of carve out your own niche. Find your interests, and if it takes a little while, that's okay. It's always comforting to me to kind of hear other stories of how other people worked out. And if somebody has a problem like you're having right now, and Randy's licking his feet right now behind me, if somebody's having problems like you're having right now, somebody else before you has probably had that problem and worked out just fine. And at the end of the day, doing what you're comfortable with and what you want to do trumps doing things faster.
Yeah, I'd like to build on that. Mike brought up like the point that applied to me like the most. I find that when you're passionate about something and when you love to do something, don't be afraid to just throw all your eggs in one basket and just go for it. Um, I originally went into electrical engineering thinking that was like the absolute thing that I wanted to do, and then realized that there's a lot more to electrical engineering than I thought it would be. So like I added on like 4 extra years of schooling and picked up a double major, and I really don't regret it at all. I enjoy what I'm doing, and it's actually set me a lot further ahead than the rest of my like design peers. So because I have both backgrounds, and I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I don't regret it at all. So I'd advise you to just chase your passions and don't be afraid. Like just go for it. Your passions will carry you a lot further than holding back. When you hold back, you'll regret it.
All right. Well, hey, thank you all so much for the time that you've given us. I think it was Mo when he signed on. I said, "Hey, how's it going? Are your classes online?" He's like, "I just submitted an exam before we started this." So I know you guys are right in the middle of the heat of it right now, but I appreciate you giving us your time. I'm sure everyone here listening does as well. Thank you so much, and yeah, we really thank you so much for all that, and we'll see you soon. We're gonna go do a Cooch family update right now offline. See you guys.